Welcome back to RLCS Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done talking about the Brisk Summer Series that happened just this past weekend, and now we're going to talk about some other Pro Rocket League stuff. Roster Watch. This is the off-season of RLCS. This is when roster mania happens. Everything gets shuffled up, and we want to keep you guys up to date on the latest maneuvers and trades that are happening, or maybe lack thereof, depending on these teams. So, guys, any big surprises so far from you guys you've seen so far?
I mean, it's still very early. Very, very early. We just had our first Brisk Summer or 7-Eleven Summer Series event. There's 2 more to go, and there's still a DreamHack Atlanta. So we have a lot of big tournaments for teams to still experiment with rosters, but we have seen some movement already at this point.
Right. I'd say flip side.
Sure.
It's probably the first one. I mean, we're not 100% sure, but we did see Mystic in DreamHack over in Sweden, replacing Greasy potentially. We don't know if that's concrete. But they did win. They won the tournament with Mystic, so I mean that's going to be good news for Mystic, at least if he's looking to join Flipside. I wouldn't be surprised considering this new market roster is also.
Yep, they're looking pretty strong there as well. Pesci, always a person that builds a good team around him. We'll get into that roster here in a little bit. Let's start in Europe because we're already talking about that. Let's start with Envious, and most people are like, whoa, what's Envious? Never heard of this team. This is Northern Gaming. Your current reigning world champions have now switched orgs, got bought out by Envious here. So one of the biggest orgs in all of esports, longest standing orgs in esports, the boys in blue, Envious here picking up Northern Gaming.
And really the way NG, Northern Gaming, handled that acquisition was just pure class. If you saw their AMA on Reddit, you saw what they had to say. Northern Gaming, the way they handled that was awesome. But Envious, that is huge for Rocket League in general, for an org of their caliber to come into the scene.
What I find massive is they didn't even have Maestro for the LAN.
Yeah.
They won with the sub.
Yep.
Granted, Turbo Pulse is a great player, but they didn't even have their original roster.
Yep.
And we saw how strong they were. We know Maestro and Remco are like the European duo outside of Marky and Cooks here. So, I mean, that's actually exciting for me since we didn't even really get to see them perform to what I think would have been the most pressure and potentially their prime. That it's almost like getting to see a roster swap a little bit. Like we get a little fun surprise.
Well, that brings me to the question of Maestro versus Turbo. Everyone was like, we kind of forgotten about Turbo because he was a sub for Northern Gaming. And then he shows up and shows he's clearly a top-level player still. And they decide to stick with Maestro on the starting roster, which means that Turbo decides he's going to go elsewhere. He doesn't want to be a sub. He wants to play. Thoughts about this, guys? Should they have stuck with Turbo? I mean, clearly they had the winning composition there. What about sticking with Maestro here?
They certainly had an incredible performance winning the world championship, but Maestro I still think is the better player. Maestro has played at LAN, and he is probably, Gibbs would say that he's the best LAN boy out there, but you know, it's with Turbo, he showed up on that day, and we've seen people show up on the day before, like with iBuyPower Cosmic.
Right.
Like they showed up on the biggest stage and ended up winning the world championship when everybody thought they were not the best team. So I still think that Maestro is the better player, but they really couldn't go wrong. Whether they went with Turbo or went with Maestro, they're still going to be a world-class team.
Well, we've had 2 teams now in the World Championship win with a sub plane that didn't play throughout the majority of the regular season. So that's really a crazy thing because we've only had 3 seasons, but it's happened 2 times out of those 3 seasons so far. Moving on to Flipside, the other team that we talk about a lot when we talk about world champions here, the big thing with them, that question mark at the bottom, as you hinted earlier, Quinn, Greasy didn't make it out to DreamHack. They played with Mystic, and they win there after having a lackluster performance on the World Championship stage. Who do you guys think, just speculate with me here, Mystic, Greasy, Meister, maybe someone else? Who's going to be filling out this roster carpet?
This is one of those situations where Cooksier and Marky really can do no wrong. They're both so good together that they just need to find somebody that fits that groove, and we've seen them, do it with more than one player. And a lot of it, we don't get to see it on this end, but a lot of it really does come to personalities as well.
Yeah.
These players can get on each other's nerves when you play together for months and months and months, when there's tens of thousands of dollars on the line and someone's pissing you off. It's nothing you want to deal with.
Chemistry is important. We see if you follow the Genesis tweets.
Oh, wow.
Chemistry is, I'm sorry, Quinn. Quinn's the team manager for Genesis, so you got to experience it. How important is team chemistry?
Well, I mean, it's probably the most important thing I'd say even more important than skill, because when chemistry is just not there, no matter how good you are and you start getting on each other's nerves, you start fighting with each other, that will quickly cut away any skill gap that there is. We saw Genesis with definitely some personality issues last season, and there's not really that much you can do rather than to just make the best of a certain situation. But I just saw how easily they would become discouraged, they would lose motivation, stop practicing, and it just killed the team. Like,
but do you think flip side though? Because we're talking about flip side. And I don't know why everybody is winning things with subs. First of all, that is, I don't get it. But like, do you think the chemistry is playing a role for them? Like, when Cooks was interviewed at DreamHack, he said they were looking for something fresh. I believe I believe that's what he said, or something along those lines.
They really enjoyed having Mystic on comms. He was very easy to keep happy and chipper. They were singing Italian. They were singing American pop songs in Italian just for fun. Like, as far as like team dynamic on comms go, it doesn't get better than that. I feel like.
So like maybe Mystic. You know, he might.
He's
like,
he's
really
very
a very good player,
nice
but if he's a better chemistry fit and maybe not a better player, do you still go with him, or do you go with the better player?
If the skill gap between the two players is not make or break the entire team, right? Mystic is still an amazing player. Season 2, he was in the finals, right? It's not like this is some pushover who's just a fun guy to have in comms, right? This is Mystic, one of the best players in Rocket League. There's no doubt in my mind that you'd go with Mystic, somebody who's easy to work with. There's a chance for longevity in the team. It just makes complete sense.
Something to mention for sure. So I interviewed Mystic for his kind of on the day when we were showing videos of him.
Sure.
And getting to know him as a person, he takes it game at a time, which I think was really cool. Something that he mentioned in his interview was like, well, we're just going to take it one series at a time, and we're not going to worry about just the victory. Which I think is also very similar to how when you listen to Marky interviews, he's the same thing. He's like, like, we're just here to do our best. We're here to perform at our peak. Doesn't matter what our results are. We're just here to perform at the best of our capabilities. And I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand. That could be a big thing. And Greasy, as we know, really likes to win. He's a very competitive person. And that could be I mean, I don't know, but that could be something that may have rubbed in the roster. Who knows?
Yeah, I really liked the flip side we saw at DreamHack. They looked very strong. Their opponents on the World Championship, or not the World Championship, but the DreamHack Championship there was Gale Force Esports. Now, this is a roster we're talking about brand new. We have only seen this team play once. They made it all the way to the finals there at DreamHack. You can see 3 different teams here. This is where Turbo has ended up right now. I think he's officially signed on Gale Force now. KDOT, Violent Panda, Turbo Pulsa, all 3 of these players are grand finalists. They've all been in the World Championship game at the RLCS. Thoughts about this roster, guys?
Well, first off, KDOT, he was the EU MVP. That guy is absolutely nuts. And then he actually took down Violent Panda and Gale Force to go to LAN. And that series was stellar. And Violent Panda played out of his mind. But then they're also picking up Turbo, who I honestly thought he was arguably the MVP. Even though Devo had flashier plays, I thought Turbo Pulsa played incredibly well. So this roster is actually looking quite good.
Yeah, Turbo is one of the fastest players I have ever seen in Rocket League. People kind of just discredit him a little bit as the sub who lived up to, help them win LAN, lived through the storyline, whatever. He's incredible. He's so fast. I'd say he's way faster than Maestro, and I think that actually worked out to Northern Gaming's advantage. Seeing him with KDOP and seeing him with Violent Panda, that's going to be a super scary team. So I think Gale Force is looking to be one of the stronger teams coming into next season, definitely.
Well, we talked about this at DreamHack, that there's never, every time a team wins RLCS, they kind of fall off a little bit. The first 2 seasons, both the teams that won kind of fell apart afterwards. And Turbo had the best opportunity yet to win 2 big tournaments back to back. He didn't pull it out there in the end. It was Flipside that pulls off the win, but making it all the way to the finals there, I think the big question in everyone's mind was, is it going to be like an over 0 situation where he wins LAN, it's like, oh, he's so great, he's this big popular guy, and then just doesn't seem to pan out in the next season. And instead, Turbo Pulsa is seeming just to continue on with the momentum that he already had.
It almost feels like that roster is like the low-key MVPs all teamed up together.
Oh,
right?
sure.
Like Violent Panda, we've always known was one of the best players, but he was on team with Patchy for so long, and I think Patchy, his name has a little bit more weight to it, even if there are a lot of games where Violent Panda outshined him. And KDOP, as we know, he got MVP, but he's still, for some reason, it's just one of those things like he doesn't do flashy plays, so he doesn't come up as much in conversation with a lot of things. And Turbo Pulsa, as we know, he wasn't even on a roster last season.
Yeah.
The dude was just chilling as a sub, and he won championships. So it almost seems like all the low-key MVPs are like, you know what, we're sick of this. Like,
the one
let's
thing
go win.
though that Turbo needs to work on, and I'm telling you, Turbo, is stop wearing shorts at all these tournaments. We don't want to see your legs at all. Wear pants. Please.
Oh man.
Have you
esports needs some sort of like
some nice advice,
or at least get like Gale Force shorts, like athletic shorts with logo.
Please, org, start supplying your players with like a full uniform, because like I'm tired of them walking out with a jersey and then like jeans and then like Converse or something.
He was
like
like,
do the mango way. Get the shorts on.
But now, when we talk about roster watch, like the king of roster watch, I feel like, is Pashy. He is always the person who comes and shakes up everything. Everyone builds their rosters around what he does, because he comes in and like pulls the best player from this team and a different player from that, and everyone's left with gaps, and it changes everything up here. This is Mocket's new roster. The Pashy coming over from Gale Force, kept Fairy Peak, and then goes and finds Freaky from Penta, who we saw play in the last RLCS as well. So 3 dynamite players here forming up a new roster. We've never seen these 3 guys play together, but if it's Pashy, he's going to make a world-class team.
They were almost going to be teammates before, too. Pashy, Freaky, both Germans. They're competing together in a World Cup event that's coming up. So they're familiar with each other. And Pashy, he is probably the greatest scout in Rocket League. Like, he'll go out and take players who are not necessarily the biggest names, but always have a team that's competing to be at the top in Europe. So, like, I honestly think that this is probably one of the weaker rosters that we've seen him put together, but still, like, Pashy knows better than me. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to judge a player's skills. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this roster do well, but Europe is getting stacked again.
I feel like when we talk about, Pashy putting together rosters and be like, I didn't really think that one was going to do well. Season 2 comes to mind with Violent Panda and Devo, and that sounds blasphemous to say now. To say like, oh, Devo wasn't a good player. It was like nobody knew who he was before that, And then Pashy finds these 2 players, puts together this world-class team. They make it all the way to the finals, end up falling to flip side. But Pashy, like you said, he can find the diamonds in the rough and make a good team out of it. So I'm excited to see how these guys are going to fare.
It's definitely something to say. To understand that no matter who you're with, you can try and perform. There's a couple of European players that come to mind that can kind of just make it to LAN with whoever, because they're that good and they know how to fill in the gaps. And I think Pashy 90, since he takes that kind of captain role, he also, at the same time, doesn't go for the star plays. He does set his teammates up, and he tries to just be a grounded player that takes control and makes opportunities for his teammates. So, I guess, not to play devil's advocate, but like, while the roster might not seem as strong on paper, I think like he's the kind of player that will make those players strong, whether they know it or not.
Sure, and we'll see how that one pans out. Europe's been crazy already. I cannot wait to see how those rosters settle before we get into Season 4. But moving over to North America, things a bit more stable here. We can talk about the teams that we know we're going to be seeing next season, NRG, and we start off with them. Nothing's changed with these guys so far. We saw them playing in the Brisk series. They made it all the way to the finals and then fell in a surprising fashion to G2. But the roster's staying the same for now. Jacob, Fireburner, and Garrett G. These guys, a team that we've come to know and love in the past few seasons.
Yeah, the back-to-back NA champions. They've secured their spot in Season 4 with their performance from Season 3, and they got the demon off of their back this season. They beat a European team first round and made a heck of a run, getting 3rd place at the World Championship.
You really can't beat that. And if I ever watch Fireburner and Jacob split up, I don't know what I'll do. Like, you can't. I mean, they're a lovable duo at this point. They've got such a history just as a pair. They've done so much together. And after watching them develop for season and season and season, like they have legitimately developed together.
Yeah.
Their play styles legitimately are half of a whole play style. They each make a thing that exists. And if you break that apart, I don't know what'll happen.
They're like a best friend necklace.
Exactly.
We have a few of those here in Rocket League with them, and then Marky and Cookser, and then Remco and Maestro. I'm sure there's
teams that like
you
can never imagine them playing on other teams.
Yeah.
Like if one of them stops playing, you just assume the other one does as well.
We get some great rivalries. Can you imagine Fireburner versus Jacob if they ended up on different teams?
Don't do this to me.
Rocket League Civil War, here we come. I mentioned Matt and Sizz. Let's talk about Rogue. Here's another team that is not making any changes right now. They didn't have necessarily the performance they were hoping for at the World Championships, but coming up hot, making North America proud here, and then taking top 4 in DreamHack as well. Rogue looking okay right now.
Yeah, Matt, Turtle, and Sizz. We've seen Matt and Sizz play together for so long now, all the way from before Season 1. I remember these guys as a duo just playing doubles on the ranked ladder time and time again. It's a dynamic duo. They've been playing for so long. A-Money's are former teammates, right? How they're known best. I think they'd have to get out of their mind to change anything with the success they had at the last LAN. They may have had higher hopes for themselves, but you know what? They objectively performed very well. and we can see the potential in them to grow as a team. I mean,
and they have the most swagger out of
it. I think, and this is the point I want to make is like even if you're not winning, you have made so many fans. Like as far as a successful esports team right now, they have got it going right now. I know that they went and they played in DreamHack. They had some other event where they got flown out by Rogue to play on some battleship and stuff like just like it's like they are successful esports. They're
building brands
right now. Exactly.
They're
building their brands.
Brand builders.
Exactly.
And I mean, it's so big for them. I mean, so now they're in season 4 already. So that's one big reason not to break up. You need to keep 2/3 of your roster to continue with that. So they definitely want to stick together. But it's so frustrating sometimes to watch teams like they make a roster, they play for a few months, doesn't work. They're like, well, that wasn't worth it. So many teams that right now are dominating are teams that have been working on it for a year and a half, 2 years plus. There's a reason NRG is so good. There's a reason Flipside's so good because they don't break up. Even when they have their downs, even when they can't perform, they stick together and it's paying off. So I want to see, I love seeing rosters do this more often, especially Rogue, since you can tell, we were talking about chemistry earlier, they clearly have good chemistry. They are loving it. And I think that if they have the skill and they have the dynamic, I think, to what is the potential for a really, really top-notch team.
Yeah, hopefully they're able to find the wins here in Season 4 because they definitely have everything else already going for them. Moving on quickly here through a few other rosters. G2, a team that we've always been like, they're a huge fan favorites, but have not been able to find success on the stage. They finally found some great success in the Summer Series. Yes,
J2 and the Crizzos.
J2 and the Crizzos. My favorite new ska band.
Yeah,
these guys.
Just playing along what Carpet said, these guys have had rough performances, but still have stuck together. So kudos to them. Really, teams in North America are staying together. I wonder if that is going to help them in the next World Championship, but still, we have to see J2 and the Crizzos make the World Championship, where they've fallen short a couple times.
For performing one time in some single elimination bracket. Wow, tongue twisters here. What'd you call it yesterday?
Tongue.
You're tongue-filled or something like that? Something wrong.
Tongue-filled?
This could get bad.
That was a tongue-full.
It was a tongue-full, yes. Oh my gosh. Anyways, it's good to see them win that one tournament, but to be able to have the entirety of a season to stick together and actually make it all the way to the playoffs. Well, it remains to be seen whether they can do that. So we'll continue to keep an eye on them. But last, let's talk about the Muffin Men, a team we also saw perform pretty well yesterday. If you're not familiar with these guys, we expected these guys. This is kind of former Team Iris plus Dapper minus Lachinio, and they're calling themselves the Muffin Men now. And they're quite a formidable roster here in North America.
Yeah, and Dapper, he is a pro. Like, he came in only one day on the first day of the RLCS, and he put up some insane numbers. They had that 5-game series with Flipside where they lost in the final seconds. So Dapper, he's a monster. The Muffin Men, they're serious contenders.
Yeah, I really think them picking up Dapper is a huge addition to the roster. Dapper, you say he's a real pro. As from every aspect of that word, he's a professional. He comes, he plays as hard as he can. He's always there to practice. He's always trying to improve, not just for himself, but for his team. And that just, any roster is looking for a third player like that, a third player that's always down to just grind and become better and better and better. And I think with Squishy and Torment not being so successful last season, they're going to be looking for a third who's down to just work as hard as they possibly can to make sure they don't have another disaster.
They're like a Selfless again, right?
Yeah.
Selfless missed out, then they made it. And now Dapper's trying to do the same with Muffin Men.
And if you talk about the other two, so Torment, if you guys don't remember, he used to play with Darkfire all the time. They were kind of a duo for quite some time, but I think Darkfire took a step down from competitive, and Torment stuck around. And Squishy Muffins, I draw a little bit of parallels sometimes, like someone like Jazer in the European region, because they're both mechanically strong, and they might not shine as much in competitive threes, but they can if they put the time into it. They do a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of good tutorials. They have immense amounts of mechanicals coming. We've talked about a lot of people in North America. Quinn, you look like you want to say something.
I just got to say, man, shout outs to my boy Jazer. You got to give him the respect he deserves. That guy is a beast. I don't know if you saw that Gold Rush land, man. But Jazer put in some work. Don't sleep on these guys.
A lot of fantastic players in North America, a lot of fantastic players in Europe, all over the world. We'll keep an eye on the rosters as we get closer to Season 4. We'll definitely keep you up to date if anything changes. But that'll do it for today. Next up, we're going to have the 50-50, everybody's favorite segment. Carpet's going to have some people going head-to-head, James, Bot, and Quinn. We'll see who wins. Can't wait. It'll be right here after the break.